我也当我有的就是往这玩的呗，有的就是嘛，有的估计就这些，最近在网上就找了不多呢，没办法嘛，有个把这边的嘛，我这个现在都是在国外什么的，他来几年被带到的些多年个这些是呢，年前过度前不来不就是没把这话是我这个，可是我说他。对着担保意思嘛，对吧？他如果有我去，是不是人家都是比吃完这么当，谁就是轮到这么就刚那两这些人懂了，哪怕这么年的人不是差些吃完那些没把当，给出他到主要是大多把当这把事，我这个穷人浪子嘛的，他先被蒙古人跟就会在蒙古西边做些，年轻人特别多了。对你全部就我心就了，拿到什么地张把一，真的时间把一什么单位早叔叔他把了，主把钱不是把心，人当从我那人，嘛的呗，我都把它解决下呢，对切下呢。
So if everybody wants to turn to page 39 in the English, you'll find the source of all my good. So that's where we're going to begin today. I'm just going to grab volume 2 before we get started, just in case that's where we end up. I don't have one. So when we begin, sorry about the noise, the source of all my good, we find the first stanza, the source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to him or her in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow him with all my strength and reverence. So this first stanza refers to guru devotion or reliance upon a spiritual friend. And as a translator's note, there's no gender specificity here, and that's why I sometimes say him or her, because it's not gender specific in the text. Then the next stanza, bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. And here this stanza shows the required basis that's necessary. And then the next stanza begins the teaching on the stage of the past shared in common with beings of small capacity. My body and the life in it are fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I've died, the things I've done, the white or black, and what those deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then to ever be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. So here, again, these stanzas are referring to the stages of the path for beings of small capacity, or shared in common with beings of small capacity. The next stanza, bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. As well as this next stanza, grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of Buddha's teaching. So here we have the teachings for beings are shared in common with beings of medium capacity. And then the next stanza, Jipo Chenmo, the Shiloka Lobsang. Lobsang, okay. Bless up. And then I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, everyone my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. And here we have the stages of the path for beings of great capacity. The Parshin Tamani,
Parshin Tamani 가서 지분쟁 가도 조송아. 내가 또 수지마 두지게 네 셴네들 하동인데 집이 가서 집은 주로스.
Oh, that's so.
what 셴네 하동 집이 가서 송송 어떻게.
Okay, less so. So we'll do Gongyo Mebuchi.
Yeah.
So then, once one has bodhicitta, this isn't enough. There needs to be more than. Something has to be done with the bodhicitta. So there is an active engaging that has to take place, some sort of active engagement. And here we then get into the perfections. So the bodhisattva then has to practice the 6 perfections once he or she generates bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And we find that in this first stanza where we find the reference to the stage of the path for beings of great capacity introduced. And then the next stanza goes over those 6 perfections and the need for those practices, engaged practices. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough, for if I'm not well trained in the 3 moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the bodhisattva vows. So here this is showing how the bodhisattva needs to engage in those perfection practices once he or she becomes a bodhisattva, which is by generating bodhicitta. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. So here we find the section where the highest higher training and concentration and wisdom is introduced. And in the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, Lama Tsongkhapa states that he will explain the training in ethics to some degree, highest higher training in ethics to some degree, but will wait till the section on the stage of the path for beings of great capacity to explain the highest higher training in concentration and the highest higher training in wisdom. And that's why we find this section here on the union of calm abiding and special insight, because that's just what that is, the concentration and wisdom, a union of those things. And that's why it's introduced in this section on the great capacity teachings. Dixon.
어제 다들 뭐데 로비 유라 인화 시시지 로비 유라 인화 시시지 양다들 수인 제바이 신의 하통송은 제유랑 뉴도 줄라 제바 신로스 로비 유라 인화 시시지 양다들 수인 제바 다가데 인화데 신화도 고바니도 뭐데 신의들 하통 주 모제 좋은데 말베 로비 유라 인화 시시지 네 야다들 수인 제바이 네 라동이지로와 신의 라동송은 제일랑 뉴도 줄라 제바 신로스 신의 라동 신의에서 나왔대 신의에서 나 띵엔지 다 띵엔지 신의에나 띵엔지 비차 라동이나 싫어임 비차스 라고그랬다 신의에나 띵엔지 비차스 소원도 세바대요 신의에나 띵엔지 비차 라동이나 싫어임 비차스
라동 차
싫어임 비차스 라고로 네 what
오케이
싫어임 비차스 그러 다드네 신의 딱 가데 신의 띵엔지데 주르무 공부로다 주르무 지기워데 네 신의들 하동 편 네 what 집이 거서 신의들 하동 편 손도 편 신의들 하동 편들 네투라제 티징에 된 거로 신의들 하동 되는 두레스 네투다 네투지 라제지 티베치비 된 거로 신의들 하동 되는 두레스 대 수송도서나 너도 공대레스 사지 가로 너도 공대로데 손도스다 안도도 공대로 손도 파바 공대레스
카비어레
파바 공대워데 어떤 제보데 제비 심을 가도 쉬용하래 가정에 제비 치로 들어 저한테는 공대도 장도와 공대레스 사지 가르가
Okay.
Shambas, and the Sanjigo, the Jujin Shamango, Baba in Jervata, Shamba, Yan Netu Naji, Shaju Samba, Netu Naji, Shaju Samba, the Jinsheba Naji, Jiden Dan, Jiden Deba Taji Jang, Shenet Dan, Latunki, Riba Shaos, Tanu Tegun Tenche, Rajagun, Tibetan Buddhism, Samakalo, Shenet Latung Rebres, Shenet Latungi, Riba Shaos, what the Netudan Raja, Tijan Galo, Shenet Latung Rebres, Dudu Gondel Sundo, Dudu Gonde, what the John, what the Chibichibika Sundo.
The Gomdre?
Dudu Gondes and our
Gomdre?
Dudu Gondes and that and Sansamandore, the Sansamandore, Jawanta Yonju, and the Kundas, Chinese one shirta, Jawanta Duji Tenji, Yonju to Tony Tenji, Kunda Tony Mai Tabata, Mabakolo, Kunda Lover, Kunda, Sanzambage. What the Dudu Gondes ago, done that what the shade.
Okay.
Tisan Janal Tayag, what the Nambi Chudu and Dudu Gondit Tatu Zorota. Janal, but Dudu Gondiki Chuduta, Tene Japan down, Korea down, but the not out someone what the Gondiki Chutatu Zorota. Janak Nabi Chutu things at it.
That's it.
Dudu Gondin Duro, what the Netu Juan, Raja Juan, Tibetan Buddhism, Galo, Shena the Latung Rebus, Shena the Latung Rebus, Sondoza.
So we find, I can get the exact name of the text in one of Buddha's pronouncements. The text is called Gomdre, and it's the one of the texts where the Buddha sets forth the Chittamantran view. And he's addressing, I believe, Lord Maitreya in this text. And he states that all of the excellent qualities of the hearer vehicle, the solitary realizer vehicle, and the great vehicle come about through this union of calm abiding and special insight. So the excellent qualities which are achieved, those goals of each of those vehicles are achieved through this union. So we see the importance being stressed. Rinpoche said it's in one of the Lamrim volumes, so I'll find it. It's being stressed, the importance of the union of calm abiding and special insight. Those last two of the highest higher trainings is so important and indispensable in all of the vehicles. So we go back to the text and it says, "Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way." So when we look at what this calm abiding is, and we look at what special insight is, so here it says the path where quietude. So quietude here is referring to calm abiding. And calm abiding is necessarily single-pointed concentration. So when we say if it is calm abiding, it is necessarily single-pointed concentration. The yine, the tingenzi yina, the shine yimbi macha.
Tingenzi shine mchoma, shine yina tingenzi mchoma.
Okay, tu chena.
Musum.
Okay, musum. Okay, so, but the reverse isn't true. If it is single-pointed concentration, it is not necessarily calm abiding. But if it is calm abiding, it is necessarily single-pointed concentration. So this is what is meant by this quietude. And insight is referring to special insight. And if it is special insight, it is necessarily wisdom. So here we see this union of concentration and wisdom being presented here, which are those two highest higher trainings, those last two highest higher trainings. So this union that it's being spoken of in this section on the stages of the path for beings of great capacity is necessary to be presented in the solitary realizer as well as the hearer vehicle, but this text is a great vehicle text, so it's presented where it is presented in this section. Dixon Rinpoche.
Oje ta Chenrezig o tega je Chenrezig de wote ta kwante meba Chenrezig gonghe Chenrezig meba karla mena gonghe ina Chenrezig gonghe kunun de bare ma do taji do Chenrezig meba de go sa yo mare Chenrezig de sheba da na ba samba gongba yo ro ta Chenrezig meba de le and the Lamrim guna digore, Shil mina guna digore, and the Miba Daman of Moviora. What the Lamine, and the Sanger, but then not to Juba, land to Juba, Nyora and Juba, could then change that. Mibal gun Sichi to Mina going to Saint Amachana. Saint Amachana, and what the things Guba Silla Yore. The Leon Duletana. Zubu Gile, Long Saba Slim with a Long Saba. Long Saba de Xinjiang, Xinjiang. And Long Saba de Leon du Lul Jibushida, Lu Jibo, Taji, and the Sel Jibu, Le Xinjiang de Was. Le Xinjiang de Was on deux, Tingas de Gone, Ned, could net to Kene, what the Nijilesona, Zubu Gile, Long Saba Chilene. What the Lubum Zijibo. Tibetan Saint Buddhism, le sentient de was. Chenrezig est au Chenrezig Chebaji Sembi Gune, Rayu Lamrim Lendo to Jubiting Chenrezig is
Chenrezig
Chenrezig Chebaji Sembi Gunes, Tating and Gungu Tempecha on to Zubuji Lons of Lero. What tell a dinner and Lul de Watan, Sel de Wayuta. Tetabi ne Xinjiang Chebaji Sembi Gune, Rayu Lamrim Lendo to Jubiting Chenrezig is Xinjiang Chebaji said, Xinjiang Dagas Xinjiang Nasu Jula Yugurda. Xinjiang Chebaji Tengas Gune, Saint Amachaudu, Zubijile, Long Sabachilene, Hamabi, Luton Saint Dovachibusare. Tetabi Dovat Sembi Gune, Rayu Lamrim Lendo to Jubi, Lalhaina da Karina, Bemen Lendo to Jubi, Tingas Dovat Chenrezig is Chenrezig Dovat Sedera.
So when we look at how one achieves single-pointed concentration and what the object of observation is, there isn't any specific object of observation that has to be used in order to achieve calm abiding. So we find in Buddhist and non-Buddhist schools the ability to achieve single-pointed concentration. So it's said that one can achieve single-pointed concentration through relying upon such things as a deity, or one can achieve meditative concentration by meditating even upon a stick or a piece of wood. Excuse me. So there isn't any specific type of object of observation that is necessary in order to achieve calm abiding. So it says that calm abiding is the mind's abiding on an internal object of observation upon the calming of distraction to the outside. So this is the definition that Rinpoche just set forth of calm abiding. And when one achieves, one goes through these various levels of concentration. And once one gets to the point where he or she has single-pointed concentration, then new wind, the winds change within the body and are replaced by new winds that are brought about by this meditation. And when that takes place and one actually achieves single-pointed concentration, at that point in time, there is what is called pliancy that takes place. Mental pliancy takes place, as well as a physical pliancy takes place. And this is all a result of the winds changing in the body. So this internal event that's taking place in the body that's causing this result to take place. So this is what is meant by calm abiding, and how calm abiding is a single-pointed concentration, and how once one achieves that state of single-pointed concentration and is able to fix it on his or her chosen object of observation, then calm abiding is said to occur. I believe I have everything. Then the Rimbo Chugari Lasa. The Rimbo Semne Okay, then the Rimbo Gari Lasa.
And what they could send them tembu and there was always a long sabalong race. And the Lud and San Doing race. What they Xinjiang Chibaji Simiguna, Rayula Memen 100 things in the Chinese race. Le Xinjiang Daji, Lucen, Doa, you do what they Chenetle or Marva. Xinjiang Chibaji, some big Simiguna. Rayula Memen 100 things in the Chinese. Josh among them do the jelly and Kaza Hila Shedan Chishas, Xinjiang Kaza Xinjiang the Hila Shed Chisha, Xinjiang Chibajin Simigune, Bemen 100 things in the Chenet Logres, Chenet.
Then a Rinpoche, then Ngama Charan the Rimbo. La son the Sem Jupa, Jundu Jupa.
Oh, that does go that the Nato that Tambo, say Nasha Tambo, Tambolegro, not to Jubas. Then they are Maple Motivation Draw, not say can Maple College, but then go.
Okay, so
Jema the Vashinama Tandashi Tumara.
Then a Rinpoche, the Shine Gitseni. The Kali Lak, and you're saying it's not a Rasong, meaning the data lag.
Xinjiang Chibaji Simigunes.
Then Dondagare.
Xinjiang Chibaji Simigunes, one of the Gunja, Zubu, Long Saba Leon du, Lieutenant Saint Dawandua. Xinjiang Chibaji is what is there. Take Simigune, Rayula Memen 100 Jubitingas in the Xinjiang 10 years.
Okay. So calm abiding is not something that just occurs very quickly in 1 week or 1 month. It's something that one has to familiarize oneself with for a very long period of time. And for it to occur, there have to be various stages that take place. The stages: setting the mind, continuous setting, resetting, close setting, disciplining, pacifying through thorough pacifying, making one pointed, setting an equipoise. So there are various stages that are necessary in order to the karma sumju yure. So there are various stages that are necessary in order to achieve the state of calm abiding, and it takes repeated familiarization over and over for a long period of time. So the definition of single-pointed concentration, again, I'm going to double-check this. I have to see the Tibetan text. But what I have down here, and I believe it's the same text, is an internal, the mind abiding on an internal object of observation upon the calming of the distraction of the outside. So there's an internal object of observation that the mind is set on, and all other things outside are not existent in that mind's observation. So that's the definition. And what takes place is a change of the winds within inside of the body. The internal winds change, and therefore a mental and physical pliancy takes place as a result of these winds changing. Geshe Rinpoche.
어제 다시 신의 거수 다 매발 저지도 내 조금마도 제바시고 말다 제바시고 말와 제바시나야 신의 라누로다 저지도 내봐 조금 저지도 내봐래 달하동 조온도 담을 신의 투로 되는 하동 달하동 조온도 신의 저지도 내보고네 싫어 제바시고 그러다 제바시고도 야 신의 매발 tencha shunu warta yanne kazan sandu cheba shebe nebale mene nebe cheba shebale mene shenegel hatun mene hatun shenel mene ba sonde jonsona shela sondes what is samarba what the hatun de shenejin ane rayula sutu bishero de ne hatun tenzin is
so when we look at this union of calm abiding and special insight, we're speaking of one specific object of observation without distraction being observed. So this is what is meant by calm abiding. And when we look at what this union of calm abiding and special insight is, it's one's ability to set that calm abiding on wisdom without, usually when we look at single-pointed concentration, wisdom or analysis would harm concentration. And likewise, just one object of observation, single-pointed concentration, isn't allowing one to analyze, which would normally be required for wisdom. And what this is a going back and forth over a long period of time between this concentration and wisdom, and you getting to the point where that wisdom is the object of observation of the concentration, and there's no longer one, and neither is no longer harming the other. So the single-pointed concentration isn't being harmed by the wisdom, and the wisdom isn't being harmed by the concentration. And that's when there's a union of the two. When there's a union where the single-pointed concentration is able to identify the object of observation, wisdom, without wavering and without moving away from this one-pointed investigation. So this is something that occurs over a long period of time, and it says, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. So what else was mentioned before that I forgot to translate is that the distractions are excitement and dullness. So one needs to get rid of those distractions in order to get to the point of single-pointed concentration. And once one does that, then one goes back and forth between wisdom and concentration to the point where the two are united and don't harm one another. This word nupa is used, of harming. And it doesn't mean actual hurt or harm. It means that when your single-pointed concentration is affected by analysis, your single-pointed concentration goes away because you're no longer focused on one object. You're focusing on a multitude of things. So then you concentrate then back on one object, and your wisdom is then harmed because your analysis isn't taking place. Once one achieves this level, there's a union and a focus of the two united. Digson, Sampa Tsopolasson. She gave a textbook definition.
제바 시험도 야 내버도 쉬운 거래. 야 신에 야 제바 시 가정성 둘에 네 제바 시베 내발에면 내베 네 제발에면 내발 실라 손도 제거된 거다.
So this analytical meditation that takes place in order for special insight to occur, then it begins to be united with this calm abiding that's taken place through achievement of meditative concentration, through achievement of single-pointed concentration. So this analysis, that analytical meditation, then begins to be united with the concentration, and then begins to be a concomitant, I believe that's the word, as opposed to an opponent, and starts to work together with the concentration. So the concentration works with the insight, wisdom, and the wisdom then is aided by the concentration. So the ability, just as a note more loosely, to just be able to concentrate singly on emptiness as a one subject that is understood as a subject, as opposed to analysis, because that analysis has already taken place at the point, and one has this inference that then requires a single-pointed focus to understand it as a whole kind of unit. So, sorry about the note, but I hope that... You're right.
나리 되는 어디서도 상대선 나오주 잡듯이 딩한제도 어디선라 선로 어주 잡는다면서 상대선 나오주 잡듯이 자나 유명리 공부지当那给没把困了就le sen les autres descendants le sen les autres descendants sont du chien chabajan tout on du le dans sen doit用autre le sen les autres descendants tata chine ne yo on pendant na yi danu Tenzin junto tes, te dingan junto nyala je gures.
Ave rasa.
Jisme lamenya tando da tiji changse los. Odere doa.
The Sikh tambo gare yanjer Sikh tambo.
Santen selang oji.
Okay, yeah, rasa. The jalpo.
Shindu nan santen terwa.
Santen jalpo.
Santen selang oji jabures.
Okay.
What the lud kuzu lada.
That's it. So we find in the abbreviated stages of the path, where it says, meditative concentration is the king wielding power over the mind. If you fix it on one point, it remains there immovable like a mighty Mount Meru. If you project it, it can permeate any virtuous object at will. It leads to the great exhilarating bliss of having your body and mind be applicable to any virtuous task. Knowing this, the yogis of mental control have devoted themselves continuously to single-minded concentration, which overcomes the enemies of mental wandering and dullness. I, the yogi, have practiced just that. If you would also seek liberation, please cultivate yourself in the same way. So here we see exhilarating bliss of having your body and mind be applicable. So here that's speaking of the mental and physical pliancy that occurs when one generates this concentration level of concentration, and it occurs because of the changing winds. Decent.
Ta shiro katu tasuno shiro samin teni tayu tisho gudre shiro samin teni tayu me.
Okay.
Sibi zawa zhonen jimbi lang sonro kunle ngabi yuen ten ter temo maso dramu chutu cha tata shene tando keba ye lang tenbeba teme cheban zes.
So then we have discriminating awareness, or wisdom. It says, discriminating awareness is the eye with which to behold profound voidness and the path by which to uproot ignorance, the source of cyclic existence. It is the treasure of genius praised in all the scriptural pronouncements, and is renowned as the supreme lamp that eliminates the darkness of closed-mindedness. Knowing this, the wise who have wished liberation have advanced themselves along this path with every effort. I, the yogi, have practiced just that. If you would also seek liberation, please cultivate yourself in the same way. So here we have wisdom being presented. Special
what the Bashin to Sultijaro Sharajitadane Tati Jolulma, Tiji Santans on la Koi, Sajubi Nepamatonshins, Saint Digit Nebi, Santans on la Tene, Nuku Zawade, Jubi Nebayo Mares, Chuna de Bajubas with Daisy, Pontu Mares, Tiji Santans on la Koi, Sajubi Nepamatonshins, Shene London Tree, Shirajis, Shene maybe Shiraji, and Chesan Jejan, Yamudu to Mares. Shene London Tree, Shiraji, Chesan Jejan, Yamudu Bay, Yelu Potajubi Shirade, Yume Shene Tala Junene, and Tanzin Umiribi, Chenergy, and Tanzin Mizi Tanjin Jisheba, Chujin Jubi Yambi Shiraji, Tini Tubi Ludi Jebanzis, Shelas on it from the Mudwe. What the Jin Loon, Kalikabasham, the Loon, Kuzulashan, Kuzu Dalkondre.
Okay. So then 21, in a state of merely single-pointed meditative concentration, you do not have the insight which gives you the ability to cut the root of cyclic existence. Moreover, devoid of a path of mental quiescence, discriminating awareness by itself cannot turn back the delusions no matter how much you analyze them. So if you don't have so here it's saying do not have the insight. The insight here is referring to the wisdom realizing the lack of true establishment of phenomena. So if you don't have that, you don't have the ability to cut the root of cyclic existence. Moreover, but then it says, but if you don't have the concentration, then no matter how much analysis you do, you can't either. So it says, moreover, devoid of a path of mental quiescence, discriminating awareness. So here, discriminating awareness is used instead of wisdom. So that's just a translator's choice. So I could just use the word wisdom instead of discriminating awareness. Moreover, devoid of a path of mental quiescence, wisdom by itself cannot turn back the delusions, no matter how much you analyze them. I'm going to do that. Therefore, on the horse of unwavering mental quiescence, the masters have mounted the wisdom that is totally decisive about how things exist. Then with the sharp weapon of the middle path, logic, devoid of extremes, they have used wide-ranging wisdom to analyze properly and destroy all underlying supports for their cognitions aimed at grasping for extremes. In this way, they have expanded their intelligence, which has realized voidness. I, the yogi, have practiced just that. If you would also seek liberation, please cultivate yourself in the same way. Here, voidness is referring to emptiness. Decent. Less so.
Inlu Puta Jubi Shero des, Inlu Puta Jubi Shero, do you mention a dollar Tala Juene, Tada Woman to Chenerezig, and the Mandat on Don the Manzi do the Jibejero, T. Chodo, Tada Woman, don't need to be Shero, Chunchat Herne, Tene, Chuno de Batu Tenzin to be Yamuka members of Tugres, Tanzin made the Tanjin Jinshibi. What about the Kalelu?
So then it says, therefore, on the horse of unwavering mental quiescence. So here it's saying mounting, putting the mind in a single-pointed fashion. It says, therefore, on the horse of unwavering mental quiescence, the masters have mounted the discriminating awareness, or have mounted the wisdom that is totally decisive about how things exist. Then with the sharp weapon of the middle path, so when one's in a war, one has weapons. So here it's saying that the sharp weapon, the weapon in the war against the afflictions is the path of the middle way, is the view of the middle way. So it's saying, then with the sharp weapon of the middle way path logic, devoid of extremes, they use wide-ranging wisdom to analyze properly and destroy all underlying supports for their cognitions aimed at grasping at for extremes. So here it's saying, with the sharp weapon of the middle way path, of how things exist. So this is the recognition that all phenomena are not truly established. All phenomena are empty because of dependent origination. So with that wisdom is the sharp weapon that destroys and cuts all underlying supports for their cognitions aimed at grasping for extremes. That's referring to the afflictions and those supports for ignorance, those bases for delusion and ignorance, those graspings, those afflictions. So the middle way view, the realization that phenomena are not truly established, serves to get rid of that grasping at the extremes and destroy all afflictions that are brought about by it. So that is what is meant here by the sharp weapon of the middle path. Devoid of extremes, they use wide-ranging wisdom to analyze properly and destroy all underlying supports for their cognitions aimed at grasping for extremes. Dixon. So when we look at calm abiding and special insight, both of these are brought about through the wisdom arisen from meditation. When we look at the different wisdoms, this is a wisdom arisen from meditation.
What the gentleman took along to do, Lamrim, what the Chibluda, what the do.
Then in Yentu Dan Rangel Dan, the Yunten Kanga, Shine Dan Latong,
Japanese Lazaro, Japanese Lazaro. And then you two, you had that Rajel, and then teaching you that Karoina, Guru Bacho, Guru Chow Marota, Guru Maiba Yodrota, and to look at Guru. Okay, so Ale Shine Dan Latong Gonjung Yin Bichap, Shine Latong Gonjung Yin Bichap, Gonga Mebichi, Gonjung Yin Chap. Then in Yentu Dan Ranjel, then the Yunten Kanga. Yetuji Layina, Gonjung Yin Machos, Yetuji Lang.
Okay.
Show Sena. Juji. Tabat Nanjung Samba to
Gonjung Maya. So long.
Tulambi Tuji to be Shero than Jebat and the Jeba.
Okay.
What to Gonjung Yimaro?
Ale Sanjung.
Sanjung Yero, Sanjung.
Okay. So when we look at these statements that are made, that all of the excellent qualities of the hearer vehicle and the solitary realizer vehicle and the great vehicle are arisen from calm abiding and special insight. So the statement is made. And we state, if it is calm abiding and special insight, it is necessarily the wisdom arisen from meditation. So then, the consequence to all of this is that if we were to say the path of accumulation for the hearers, where renunciation is brought about, that is an excellent quality of the hearer's vehicle, but it is not the wisdom arisen from meditation, nor is the path of preparation where we find the understanding of emptiness brought about, but not through the wisdom arisen from meditation at that point, because it's not the point of seeing. It's the wisdom arisen from hearing and analysis. So once it's at that point. So those subjects, so we'll say the wisdom, the wisdom arisen from analysis at that path of preparation is not an excellent quality. It can't be an excellent quality because it says all of the excellent qualities arise from calm abiding and special insight, and those are necessarily wisdoms arisen from meditation. So there seems to be a contradiction that really isn't addressed here, but something that we can think about. If those all arise from special insight and calm abiding, then those are necessarily arisen from meditation. So anything that's not arisen from meditation, therefore can't be an excellent quality because it wouldn't be considered a special insight or a calm abiding. The practitioner may not have even reached anywhere near that level yet. So I think I clearly... So, Dixon.
That Tibetan Buddhism called Gonjona dus Shenne de Latung de Bins at Shenne de Latung not do by ins. Lana Diga is German de La Chibichamuka to load out and do.
Nene, the
Tibetan Garola Gonjum Chaba Yomares.
Lesser.
Gonjum might be Tibetan you are.
Lesser.
What the Shenne Latung Consum do by ins.
Khensur
Rinpoche Shenne Latung Maina, the Khensur Rinpoche. And the same all, and the Tananga to Shenne Latung Yomarde, and then as well, some day, damn day and what the Shenne Shenne. And then as we share Latung Yomarde, and then as we Cheba share up. What the Latung Congress.
Oh, I see. So the way that Geshe Rinpoche could clarifies this seeming contradiction is saying that all these excellent qualities are kind of arrived at, through the process to calm abiding and special insight. So it's part of that pathway, part of the same practices. So the meaning of this is that in order to achieve any of these excellent qualities, it requires familiarization over and over again. It requires repeated analysis. It requires a facsimile of special insight. So one is working towards that using the tools. In order to achieve the excellent qualities, I'm going to have to just stray a little from exact right now. In order to achieve those excellent qualities, the practitioner utilizes the practices or tools that he or she needs to use to get to calm abiding and special insight to achieve those excellent qualities. So those excellent qualities are achieved on the way to this union and are part of the process to achieving this union. So therefore they fall under the kind of umbrella of this calm abiding and special insight because they are not byproducts of the process to it, but only occur because of the process which is heading towards calm abiding and special insight. Digson Rinpoche.
What the Lari didn't what the ancient what the login.
So we do now have the abbreviated stages of the path in English. So if you can look at that and read it, it's very beneficial. And then you can look at the source of all my good, which is even more abbreviated than that, and understand it more. So you can read the great treatise on the stage of the path and utilize the source of all my good and the abbreviated stage of the path as a prayer text. So more often than not, we find this text, the Lamrim Duda, in abbreviated stages of the path, utilized as a prayer text. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Previously, Rinpoche quoted the sutra unraveling the intended meaning, where it spoke of the excellent qualities, and I found it at break, so I just wanted to read it. Maitreya, you should know that all mundane and super-mundane virtuous qualities, whether of Shravakas, Bodhisattvas, or Tathagatas, are the result of meditative serenity and insight. Okay, Dixon.
Shene gongke to what desa tele saa thwa lel hab jinya sa jile gures lebar nye dans saa thwa mena gonja tu marwa saa thwa lel hab nya ge sa ja ji gures lebar nye dans sazan gures sa del dina nasa meba ana to ju dan chenzen de ne ba meba den sazan bu gures what do the general Lamrim Chenmo yore Chenmo ka lu da what no yore Lamrim Chenmo
example
leba nye da ne zang bu ko kris ne zang bu ne de na sa me ba ta to de la su ne ba me ba an sa zang wa da sa de le gong jia ge na an zubul na sa me ba and the true zombo Dama parent. What then again, Chichu Genere, Lebania, the Jije, Nezon was the Nije, Sazon was the Sonje, Truzantan, Jedenoje.
The Tambo, Yanger? Tambo?
Lebania dance, Saton, Lelabania, Lebania dance, Nezon dance, Nezombo.
Ne sen ne zambo ne sen
ne desa dero ta
place ne okay then
sazon sa desa sacha de zambo gures sadel de na sama jebala so to zambo da parenta jere doje odo jawa jamon do de jelo son do de jele jan lo den kan to drubi yus chene drubi yutele and children the song gures leba nye da tambuji nezon wa de niba je sazon wa de somba je zhuzon wa what jene de do jene neji di yu je den sa
chi yomare the saton the sacha the chu trobo then chi yomare
leba nye da leba nye tambuji so leba nye da sa ton leba nye ba
there also the yure
tene nezon wa ni ba che
ne sacha
sazon wa sadel de na sa me je ba sazon wa
the sazon wa oh not say yomare free from
and true dama parent what the chichu jene gu se do de ne son do se ta tengen zo konsa gu yu de le what the chichu jene ji gu do de jene son do jerme che chibi chibi la re ka tu lu da ta na lu do ne ju du yu je de sa
so we find we're looking at achieving the state of meditative serenity, concentration. In Lord Maitreya's text, the Mahayana Sutra, ornament for the Mahayana Sutras, we find a quote, I think I can find it, 2932, that speaks of what is necessary in order to really achieve the state of meditative serenity. So it says, the intelligent practice in a place which is accessible is a good place to live, offers good ground and good companions, and has the requisites for comfortable yogic practice. So there are 4 points that are made here that are meant here. The Rinpoche, the Lamrim Chenmo, the long the nga yere. Nga. The ne dan sa the nga yere.
Nga yuna taka zhongwu ta.
Nga tambo the sa ton nipa the ne the dendri yomare. Sumba the sa the natsa yomare. Jipa the trobo yapodru. Ngapa the ja mambo yomare. The ja the shige dangonta the ja the mambo yomare. Okay, so so we find that there are. I was just talking with Rinpoche that there are 4 in some texts that state there are 4, but there are 5 in the Great Treatise. So in the text that we're using, it says that this place is easy to get what one needs, so that there's food available and drink available and clothing, all the things that one needs. Second is that the place is a good place, that there aren't wild beasts, that there aren't wild animals or predators. Third is that it's the ground where it is, there's free from illness, there's not sickness. And number 4 is that there are Dharma friends that are there with you to help. So these are the 4 that we find presented in here. Practiced in a place which is accessible, is a good place to live, offers good ground and good companions, and has the requisites for comfortable yogic practice. So, Lama Tsongkhapa, the Gari. Sacha dang trobo. Okay, sacha. Nipa dang jipa. Nipa dang jipa. Okay, so Lama Tsongkhapa says that when we look at these different conditions, the 2 are most important. And the 2 is that the place itself is good, and that one has Dharma friends. So Lama Tsongkhapa states that these are the 2 most important conditions to be present. London. Okay. Okay. Thus, maintaining well the conditions mentioned in the collections of meditative stabilization chapter, place the mind on any one virtuous focal object. So when we speak of what is the object of observation for one single pointed concentration for achieving calm abiding, we would look to Atisha, and it says, place the mind on any one virtuous focal object. That's the point that's the object of observation that's stated by Master Atisha.
What the Jaga Kebas were made by the Sonsan Rus, Jeremici, or the Chibichimi Larichim Nintendo, Sai Kotansa, Sai Kola Minishin Gumba Yoris, Chiche, Tilla Mini Tengas Gumbandos, and the Yegula Min Tengas Gumbandos, Yegus, what the Nolda, and Nanju by Dundu Jabaro, Shene going from Debares, Carla Mina Guag, Debayina, on the Shenen Ruins, Shilamina Gun Jewure, Nyamala Mina Guna and Ruinure, the Alamina Guna and Ruins, and then High Kotan, what the Sulamina Guina, Shujin, Sono Susaya, Shujine, and then Tingan Gubachi, Sanji Kunam, the Nerman Gumaina.
Then they kabiyare. Okay. When we look at this one virtuous focal object, and we look at the various traditions, one can achieve meditative stabilization utilizing any object. One could use the sun, one could use the moon, one could pick any object of observation that one wishes. But if one is looking at trying to accumulate merit, the best object of observation is the Buddha, and we find this later in the great treatise. I won't try to find it, but there's just advice Rinpoche is saying that's given related to objects of observation. When we look at Atisha's text and we see that it says place the mind on one virtuous focal object, and then when we find Lama Tsongkhapa's advice to explain that to mean utilizing, for instance, the Buddha is good, then because of the virtue that one creates, then we can understand the meaning of Atisha's text a little more decent.
That the social the Danghan Jambe on the Chenrezig the Gun, the Tugale. Chenrezig in the sea gun, Mutaluman Beman was hung a Tiwan Mina, thing as Gumba user with and the Chenrezig Kula Mina Goya. The Naji Swanji Kula Mina Goya, Swanji Tugale, Theatre Omen and the Mammanes hung a Tiwan Gune, Telemina Goya. That's what you do by instant Duba.
So it's really up to each individual what he or she uses as the object of observation, whether it's a deity such as Manjushri or Chenrezig, or the entire practice with that deity. So doing the practice of, for instance, Buddha Shakyamuni, and meditating upon, actually, he is Chenrezig. We talked about two different that don't connect. How can I do this? So when meditating, for instance, upon Buddha Shakyamuni, you could meditate upon the mantra Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Ye Soha, and the corresponding seed syllable at the heart area. Or when meditating upon Chenrezig, and meditating upon the deity yourself or the front generation of Chenrezig deity, you can imagine the entire practice and achieve single-pointed concentration where the deity is generated along with the syllable Hri that's supported by a lotus and moon disk and is then circumambulated by a mantra garland of the mantra itself, Om Mani Padme Hum. So this is also an object of observation, we can say, that we use to achieve calm abiding. So one can achieve it through just the simple object of observation or the practice as the object of observation itself. And I use the word practice, and I just mean that event of the mantra garland and so forth that corresponds with the deity. Right, so. So then when we look at page 38, stanza number 38 in the Teacher's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, it says, without the attainment of calm abiding, higher perception will not occur. Therefore, make repeated effort to accomplish calm abiding. So higher perception here is speaking of clairvoyance. So one cannot achieve the state of clairvoyance without attaining calm abiding. So it's saying that in order to accomplish clairvoyance, accomplish calm abiding. While the conditions for calm abiding are incomplete, meditative stabilization will not be accomplished, even if one meditates strenuously for thousands of years. So if the conditions, if everything that's necessary in order to achieve calm abiding isn't there, if there's anything missing, then even if one does this practice for thousands of years, there won't be a result because there's a missing piece of the practice. So it's necessary to have a complete practice in order for there to be results. Okay, I guess so we're going to end class there, Rinpoche said. And so we do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. The Dixon. Okay. I'll make my boss happy. Okay. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drakpa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri, likewise Samantabhadra as well. Whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traversed 3 times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wanda, holder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tuji Rinpoche Kuti Shapi